My name is Ziyad. I am a writer and storyteller. I grew up in Cleveland, Ohio. I moved to New York about 8 years ago to chase my dreams of telling stories through the filmmaking medium. I am one of 19 children, actually. Yeah, my father has 12, my mother had 10, but they had 3 of us together. So we're a very large family and also a little bit unconventional. My mother's Hare Krishna and my dad's Muslim. My parents taught me a lot of very conflicting things. So in one sense, there was a lot of like reject these like constraints that society puts on you, and like this is done in religion and this is done in like all of the ways that you show up in the world as like a Hare Krishna person who was homeschooled. I was homeschooled up until high school. So in that way, like I was always told to reject this stuff. On the other hand, my parents were also, they held on very tightly to a lot of the things that they grew up thinking life should be, especially when it came to gender. There was very strict gender roles in the house. But I was able to use the language that they taught me in rejecting any other socially imposed like roles in order to combat that. My mother always emphasizes like you're not the body, but at the same time the idea of like gender is very much about the body, and so I think she needed to work through her own like cognitive dissonances because it just didn't make sense. If we're not the body, then you can't put so much emphasis on like what the body, this male apparently body, is supposed to do when it's showing up in the world. She had just been learning that for so long that it was hard to like overcome that overnight. I think we're now at a place where that makes a lot more sense to her. When I moved to New York, I think my relationship to blackness changed quite a bit. Obviously, New York is still very diverse, but I was going to NYU, and it was still technically a diverse school, but this was the first time that like the majority of everywhere I went wasn't black. And I spent a lot of time trying to escape that as a kid, not necessarily trying to escape blackness, but trying to escape like all of the struggles and pressures that, you know, that we impose on like black society. And that escape led me to NYU, led me to New York, but it was never really an escape. And I think that moment of like learning that you can't really escape being black in the world really shifted how I engaged my hometown and how I engaged blackness in general. But I think that a lot of how we consider blackness in general is like something that we can escape from, or like something that we can negotiate out of. I think that we think that there is some kind of like reasoning that can be done that can like change the way that this entire structure or society is set up. And I don't believe that now. I think that there is an embrace of blackness that needs to happen. I think there's something beautiful in the ways that we create and live and sustain ourselves when nothing is given to us, that we need to be able to tap into. The next few years will hopefully see the world destroyed. No, and I'm joking, but seriously, like I think the way that we think of the world needs to be completely reconfigured. And I think an example of that is like we ended up here with Donald Trump as a president, and this is not like this is part of the continuum of our history. So clearly we are doing something wrong leading up to this point. And I think a lot of us are trying to use the same tools to try to change that without realizing that those are what got us here in the first place. And so I joke when I say that like hopefully this is completely gone, but I think everything from like the level of like the language we use and how we use it, the way we think about people as human beings, the way we think about queerness and gender and like everything really needs to be shifted.